Barb Breidendoff, CEO of Crenshaw Associates, and I'm very excited to welcome Sarah Dunn for this episode of our Crenshaw Cameo podcast. Sarah's an executive advisor at Crenshaw, where she coaches C-level leaders on their professional development and on their business issues. Before joining Crenshaw, Sarah was the Global Human Resources Officer at Tapestry, a role she held for 14 years. Prior to that, she had senior leadership roles at Reuters and Thomson Financial, including Chief Content Officer and later as EVP of HR and Organizational Development. Sarah, welcome and thank you for taking the time.
It's my pleasure, Barb. Lovely to see you.
Let's start with a little bit of history. You have personally navigated several major life and career changes. Can you tell us more?
Goodness. Yes, long history, getting longer every day, it feels. So, I think the things that stand out to me in terms of transitions and life changes for me on a personal level, it's obviously my family. And at a professional level, although some of it gets intertwined, moving from London to New York about 33 years ago with my husband and 2 young children for what we thought was going to be a 3-year assignment, but somehow became a permanent change, was a huge shift in my life. Moving from executive positions on the line, operating and operational positions into HR was a very big shift, and one that I think took me a long time to really understand the differences. In more recent years, obviously, I've navigated a shift from full-time employment into executive coaching and advisory and more time for my passion projects in volunteering and nonprofit work. And I've navigated becoming a grandparent, and that's a big shift as well. So big shifts all the way through.
Terrific. Let's pick up on the theme of as you shifted your career from one that was focused on business operations into HR. Given your experience, what actually led you to make that change, and what reflection do you have on it now?
Yes, listen, it wasn't something I had thought of at all. But my CEO at the time, still a good friend, Sharon Rowlands, asked me if I would do it. And I think I fell over when she first said it. But she had really good reasons. She thought about it, what she thought I would bring to the role, and that she thought I would enjoy doing this work. And of course, I trusted her. So I took the assignment and very quickly realized that HR was a blend of capabilities, blend of work, whether it's very operational, getting payroll done, getting the bodies counted, et cetera, to much more strategic organizational design, communications across the organization, culture development that I really loved. So it took me about a nanosecond once I had started to realize, yes, I'd got a huge amount to learn and was fortunate to have a great team, but also that this was work that I loved and was going to be my forever home in an executive capacity.
Did your perspective on leadership change as you moved from operations into HR?
Yes, tremendously. I think that in a busy for-profit organization of any size, the focus is too often on just getting the wash out, doing the work, getting it done. The more I got into HR and the more I was able to understand the huge impact that great leadership, great management skills, great communication skills have on the whole organization, the more I was able to think about, so what makes a great leader? And how do we develop those leaders? And how do we support them in their day-to-day work?
So I'm guessing that is perspective that really comes to life in your coaching work with Crenshaw.
Totally. I mean, moving into executive coaching has been a tremendous privilege. Getting to know C-suite executives in firms across the globe. You know the assignments I've taken on in different industries, and what is not a surprise to anybody is that they have more in common wherever they are, geographically, industry, position-wise, than anybody ever thinks about. And so leaders really need the same capabilities, whatever the work they're doing. And, you get to a point in your career at a mid to senior level where suddenly your impact is moving from, yes, I can do the job and get the work done, to how do I influence? How do I lead? How do I inspire my team and work with my colleagues across the organization? And that is a tipping point that really needs to be navigated. And some leaders get stuck at that head of function level, and some leaders can blossom into truly enterprise people leaders.
I love it that you brought up the point about influence, because that is something that we see thematically in terms of challenges for people as they make those pivotal career moves. Can you talk more about how you advise people in building influence skills?
I think that what I tend to focus on is, first of all, curiosity and listening. So asking deep questions of their colleagues, of their team members, and really listening to understand what is being said. Because very often in busy executive lives, the questions may be perfunctory, and the answers may be missed totally because the executive, the leader, is so busy getting ready to make their next point. So one of the things that helped me when I was still an executive is literally training in how to listen, how to have impactful conversations, and ask great questions so that I could learn more. So I think influence starts with that understanding and really listening. And from there, you can develop the relationships that allow you to be vulnerable, to be open with your colleagues or with your team members, and then to be able to put your point of view across. If you start with that point of view, it doesn't go anywhere. But if you start with the listening and the questioning and the empathy, and in many cases, vulnerability, revealing more about yourself than you may feel comfortable doing, then you can really start to influence another person. They will understand you better, you will understand them better, and then you can start influencing.
I love those points, Sarah. So you work with a variety of C-level clients. Some are in HR, some are
Yes.
not. Do you see any commonality with the challenges that people are facing today?
Yes. Look, they've all got their, operational specialties, which are very different depending on where they sit in the organization. But I think the bigger challenges are around talent development, succession, engagement, building culture, all of which are the foundations of long-term sustainable business. And I do see in many companies really good efforts to work on succession and leadership development. I think the thing that I always hope to see is that companies are holding every executive accountable for leadership, succession, and development. This is not an HR thing. I always say HR can provide the tools, they can provide the rhythms and the processes. But if leaders are not being held accountable for true succession development, it becomes an exercise. And it's an exercise that gets old. It's an exercise that isn't driven by passion. But I believe truly great leaders are spending time with their team members at least 4 times a year, talking about their development, what's next for them, what their next move is, how they need to develop. And that's the true nature and the true responsibility of business leadership, is getting your team ready for their next opportunity.
Well, that brings me to another thought. As I was thinking about your time at Tapestry, the company went through enormous transformation. And transformation is a word that we hear all the time in business.
Yes.
So I'm wondering, what learnings from your executive experience are you able to bring to your coaching clients that have to do with supporting transformation?
It's 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 a danger to listen to your clients and say, "Oh, I've been there, I've done that." A, it doesn't help them, and B, every instance of change and transformation is different. So you can never make assumptions that what I have been through is actually what they're going through now. So it comes back to that questioning and challenge and broadening their perspective, to really just challenging them to think in different ways, think about different solutions, not bring my solutions to the table. Because my experience, while it may have relevance and I can certainly empathize, every situation is different. So I try and bring those questions and that challenge to every conversation.
That's great. Mindset is a big deal. And I'm sure that you're able to look at coaching clients now and observe the mindset that they bring. What advice do you have for people who are sort of stuck where they are right now and need to open up their own mindsets to welcome more possibilities and a more growth orientation?
Good question. I think it's about really being brave. Trying new things takes a huge amount of bravery. We all live in our little bubble where we've got our little monster. I always talk about the little monster on my shoulder who is saying words to me, "Oh, don't try that. Oh, that's such a stupid idea." And you sort of have to kick that monster off your shoulder before you can do anything. And once you've got that little monster a little bit tamed, and I have benefited from classes that has really helped me understand deep neurological behaviors that they're all very ingrained in us. So learning how to tame those monsters, one, is important. Two, really challenging yourself. And my job is therefore to ask the questions, to challenge, to really make people think about different ideas and different solutions to problems. How bad would it be if you took this person out to lunch and disclosed that you were feeling frustrated with them? Some people find that very difficult to do. They don't want to expose their own fear or their own challenge with another individual. That person may be feeling exactly the same. And if you can break down those barriers, you can make a difference to that relationship that benefits the whole organization.
So tell me, Sarah, looking back at the fulfillment that you have had from, I would say, these 3 different periods in your career, is it the same or is it different?
It's different. Obviously today my coaching world is all about supporting through influence and challenge and change. So I don't have the monkeys on my back of operational activities that have to get done. That's a real joy, I have to say. But on the other hand, I use those operational skills in my nonprofit work and other parts of my life. So I think I still need something to keep me operating and organized. But I really enjoy the fact that I'm much more focused on the influencing and coaching now. And looking back, I would say I wish I had prioritized more of my executive time in this area and left behind more of the operational functional work that goes along with being a CHRO.
Yeah. Yeah. So then turning specifically to human resources, how in today's environment, how can CHROs work best with their CEOs to prepare their companies for tomorrow?
I think the whole world of HR is changing so rapidly. I mean, I've been out of executive HR now for over 2 years, and I can only imagine that the operational work is getting easier. There's more use of automation and AI, which means that the HR function can actually focus even more today on leadership, on culture, on engagement, on staff development. Having said that, the role of the CHRO with the CEO is to be that totally trusted advisor, to be the one that is prepared to give the harsh feedback, to persuade them to change direction. And so building that trusted relationship with the CEO is absolutely vital. Then the next step is to also make sure that you've got trusted relationships with all of your C-suite peers, so that you can support you and your team. Most organizations have strong HRBP teams, can support leaders across the organization.
Phenomenal. Sarah, this has been a great conversation. We really appreciate all of your insights, as I said, from all of the different careers that you have had, and just can't thank you enough for spending time with us today.
It's my pleasure. You know what? I love thinking about these things, and these questions will help me be a better coach. So thank you, Barb.
Thank you.